Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in a calm, resourceful feeling. And as you exhale, just allow your eyelids to close and release any feelings of tension or stress in your outward breath. As you breathe in and breathe out, become very aware of your surroundings. The temperature in the room, any background noises, perhaps people nearby, maybe a ticking clock. As you breathe in and breathe out, just get a sense that as you become aware of your surroundings, you also become increasingly aware of the sound of my voice. Allow the sound of my voice to take you on a journey into your imagination. And I'd like you to start by imagining a child's playground from your childhood. Maybe in a town where you used to grow up, maybe near a school. But I want you to imagine that childhood playground. Perhaps you can imagine a roundabout. As you breathe in and breathe out, I want you to imagine that the roundabout is stationary. I want you to imagine going to that same childhood roundabout as an adult. And imagine the effort required it takes to move the roundabout in a particular direction. I want you to accept the idea that the roundabout represents making progress, or perhaps moving in the opposite direction. Habits and choices that aren't good for your health, your body weight, or even your mental clarity. And I want you to get a sense that the roundabout can go faster or slower, and it can go in one direction or the other direction. But I want you to accept the idea that the roundabout can't go in opposite directions at the same time. I want you to decide if it's clockwise or anti-clockwise that represents progress. And I want you to imagine just one thing that would represent progress for you. And maybe progress is increasing feelings of discipline. Most people think that they need to be disciplined in order to do difficult things consistently, but fail to realize that perhaps the opposite is true. That by doing difficult things consistently, you are rewarded with the resource state of discipline. Continue to breathe in and breathe out, staring at that roundabout. And notice that as you start thinking about doing things that represent ways of increasing discipline, the roundabout starts moving in that direction of progress. Perhaps you could imagine just going for a short run, maybe even just 10 or 20 minutes. And as you do that, start to imagine that roundabout moving in the direction of progress. Perhaps there might be a time where you can't run, maybe recovering from an injury. So I want you to imagine perhaps what it would be like to do something that is still exercise, but possible for you in that situation. Perhaps an exercise bike that takes the weight of your body away from your knees. Or perhaps swimming. But I don't want you to imagine watching yourself swimming or running or on an exercise bike. I want you to imagine that in the first person. Feel what it would feel like to be doing the running, to be doing the swimming. Imagine the water on your skin. Whatever stroke you do, perhaps front crawl or breaststroke. Or perhaps imagine yourself on the bike with the sensation that your feet are moving around. And the rotation of your feet on the exercise bike remind you again of the idea of going clockwise or anti-clockwise. You can pedal forwards and you can pedal backwards. You just can't pedal in both directions at the same time. As you breathe in and breathe out, notice that when you imagine yourself doing the things that would require discipline, you feel more disciplined. I want you to get a sense that you are becoming more and more disciplined proportionately to you doing those things that move the roundabout in the direction that you desire. But it doesn't just require exercise. I want you to imagine that at any point in time, just drinking a glass of water increases your feeling of self-discipline. At any point in time, you could choose to have a freezing cold shower. Just imagine that you would be rewarded with increased feelings of discipline, but also mental clarity and a feeling of alertness. But then I want you to imagine what it would be like to make choices that send it the other way. Imagine what it would be like to start snacking. To do those things like eating poor quality food, eating when you're bored. And I want you to notice, as you imagine that roundabout, that doesn't stop the roundabout, but it slows it down. That the roundabout becomes slower as you make choices that start pulling it in the opposite direction. And every now and then you might do something that represents the feeling of the start of a domino effect. That if you've done one thing, it leads to another, and that leads to an idea that, well, now that you've gone in that direction, you might as well go the whole way. And I want you to get a feeling that that is sending the roundabout in the opposite direction. And sooner or later, the roundabout will either slow down or stop. But what if you could choose to stop it? I want you to get a sense that at any point in time, just because snacks are available doesn't mean you have to eat them. Even if you're with a family member that offers you something, even if it's their nature to share as a way of giving or expressing love, doesn't mean you have to say yes. And I want you to think of those things in your life that you would never say yes to, no matter what the pressure was, no matter the availability. You simply wouldn't say yes. And I want you to activate that same part within you, so that from this point forwards, any time that you refuse the ability to take something that would send your roundabout in the opposite direction, that will give you that dopamine hit of satisfaction. And it's the satisfaction not of the food, but of the fact that you're taking control in your life. I want you to activate that wonderful feeling of feeling in control. I want you to get a sense that every now and then, you might feel like you're going to trip over or fall over. But just because you start to slip doesn't mean that you allow yourself to fall all the way. Your instinct is to regain balance and regain control. And from this point onwards, any losing control, whether through food or anything else, will create that instinct to regain control and to send that roundabout moving in the direction that you want it to go. Continue to breathe in and breathe out, breathing in a wonderful, resourceful feeling, and exhaling any tension, any stress. I also want you to exhale whatever has been holding you back. Perhaps the belief that you need to snack. And of course you know that's not true. So just breathe out that old belief and replace it with a new idea. That if it had to happen, you could do whatever needs to be done. You've had times where you've been perhaps on a long flight and simply decided that you didn't want to snack. I want you to imagine that even if you were really hungry, you wouldn't start foraging through the cupboards and the drawers and the refrigerator of a stranger's house. You would maintain a feeling of respect for that person, but also you would respect that boundary that is there. So from this point onwards, every time you say no or stop yourself from eating something that doesn't need to be eaten, that will give you a feeling of being in control of your life. That will make you feel disciplined and motivated. And you will imagine the sequence of dominoes suddenly stopping, like 2 dominoes has been removed, or that the roundabout is slowing down in the wrong direction and starting to move in the right direction. And the more you notice that, the more you'll notice that when you're making good choices and you feel that your internal roundabout is moving in the right direction, you will feel more confident, feel happier, healthier, more alert, more energetic, you'll sleep well. And that those times that you allow the roundabout to move in the wrong direction are the times that you enjoy life the least. And part of that is because the definition of self-esteem is the contrast between your ideal self and your current self. So whenever you do things that take you towards your ideal self, the best possible version of you, you naturally feel better. And it's that wonderful feeling of feeling better that enables you to continue to make those same kind of choices. Breathe in and breathe out and accept the idea that there are just so many ways that you get to take control of your life, to feel better, and to exercise that muscle of self-discipline. Whether it's running or on an exercise bike, turning away from snacks or swimming or drinking water, or just stopping the dominoes after they've started to fall, all of these things give you this wonderful sensation of being in control. And once the roundabout is moving in the right direction, isn't it easier to make more positive and supportive choices? As you breathe in and breathe out, I want you to imagine that you're no longer watching the roundabout. I want you to imagine you're on the roundabout, looking outwards as the whole world is spinning. I want you to think of some of those old ideas that you had, the ideas about what you need, the justifications for snacking or eating badly. And as you feel that centrifugal force being on that roundabout, just allow the sensation that anything that's been holding you back is pulling away from your body. The gravity is sending it off you into the park, and what remains is who you really are. And who you really are is someone that is at your best when you're making great choices. And I want you to imagine your life a year from now with those great choices. Imagine a whole year of the roundabout moving in the right direction for most of the time. And perhaps you can see a future version of you, slimmer, maybe back working. Maybe you can see yourself going for jogs or runs, see yourself drinking water, but I want to see what impact that has had on you physically. See the new body shape. See your skin glowing, perhaps. See the clothes that you'd be wearing a year from now. A year of generally making good choices, sending your life in a positive direction. But I also want you to read your facial expressions so you can see the emotional impact of a year of good choices. And these good choices don't have to be perfect choices, just good choices. And I want you to see that future version of you, emotionally happy, confident, resourceful, looking slim and healthy. But also want you to see that it's helped you in your career. Maybe it's helped you in other ways too. I want you to see that future version of you, of what things would be like moving in the right direction for an entire year. Congratulate yourself on the progress already made. But now look forwards to consolidate all these new ideas and step into a new identity where you're in the driving seat, you're in control, and you're moving that roundabout in the direction that you choose, simply because you choose it. See that future version of you. Imagine stepping into that future version of you, feeling how good it would feel to be that person just 12 months from now. Enjoy that feeling, and now know that this is programmed just like a postcode in a sat-nav device. This is now your future. And the choices you make will take you closer to this future. And that's why it will feel so good whenever you make any choices that send you in this direction. Because it is a roadmap for you to become your ideal self. Breathe in and breathe out and step out of that future. Find yourself back on that spinning roundabout. Feel how good it feels to have let go of everything that's been holding you back. Imagine the roundabout slows down. You get off the roundabout, but then you push it in the right direction as you think of just one or two things that you can do immediately to create that momentum in your life. And then realize that this childhood playground is just a figment of your imagination. Just a thought within a thought. An idea within an idea. A dream within a dream. And now it's time to return to the present. But you return to the present feeling wonderful. Feeling that you're in control. Feeling that you're going to make choices that serve you, not hinder you. Because you know it takes you forwards in the direction you want to go. Breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Completely integrated, connected with being fully in the present. As I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake. wide awake.